Today we will dive into survey and questionnaires. What are survey and questionnaires? Survey and questionnaires are set of written or printed questions that are used to measure people's attitudes and beliefs. Are they dependable source of evidence? Well, there is a heated debate about this issue. However, uh, these the result of survey and questionnaire can be considered as dependable based on the quality of it. The quality of some survey responses can be better than others, so we should rely on the good quality survey report. Survey and questionnaires are subject to many influences, and we need to be cautious in interpreting the results of survey and questionnaire. So, what are the influences we need to be aware of? Number one, ideally, survey responses, in order to be meaningful, should reflect people's actual belief and attitude. And people should honestly answer questions. But for varieties of reason, the verbal reports do not always reflect original belief and attitude. For example, people sometimes answer what they ought to answer rather than reflecting their true belief and thought. So there could be many other reasons. For example, people may respond and people may feel hostility toward the way the question is being asked, and for varieties of reason the verbal report may not mirror the actual belief or the attitude of the people. So we have to always remember that we should not assume the verbal report of the survey and questionnaire reflect people's attitude and belief. Secondly, wording of the question. The more ambiguous the wording of the question, the less credible the result. So, ambiguous questions involving ambiguous words, vague words, may subject to many interpretations. In essence, people may be answering to different questions. For example, if the question is being asked to people, do you feel that the beauty pageant show are obscene on the television? So the term obscene is ambiguous and subject to multiple interpretation. So people would answer this question differently, because different people will have different notion about the concept of obscenity. Thirdly, survey and questionnaires may involve built-in biases. Built-in biases can be of two types. Built-in biases can be of two types: biased context and biased wording. This is a very common problem, and and a small change in how a question is asked can have a major impact on how a question is being answered. For example, a college professor found that 86% of respondents believe that President Bush has failed the American people with respect to his handling of the war in Iraq. A college professor found that 86% of respondents believe that President Bush has failed the American people with respect to handling of the war in Iraq. Now, let's examine the survey at the survey question. The survey question was posed like this: what do you think about the president's misguiding? What do you think about the president's misguided efforts in the war in Iraq? So here the key phrase is president's misguided effort. These are the leading words. Now, the respondents, don't you think, wouldn't the respondents have been quite different if the question is being read within quote? What do you think about the president's attempt to bring democracy, market and freedom to Iraqi people? Thus, responses here are not an accurate indicator of attitudes concerning President Bush's handling of the war in Iraq. Another key influence is length of the questionnaire. Number 4 influence is length of the questionnaire. If the survey and the questionnaire are lengthy, people are usually get tired of answering. So people may answer differently to the later question than to the earlier questions, simply because they get tired. So we need to take into consideration the contextual factors when evaluating survey results. So the question is, having said all these types of influences that may distort survey and questionnaire responses, despite all these, should we depend on survey and questionnaire report? The answer is yes. As a critical thinker, we need to evaluate the procedure involved in the survey and questionnaire. Having ascertained about the procedure, now we need to be aware of the biases involved in the survey. Then we can make generalize not further than warranted. Okay, even the qualitative generalization, that means generalization that is made about those which have been studied in the research questions and survey. So we need to be aware of the quality of the survey and questionnaire. We need to evaluate the procedure. We need to know what procedure has been involved in the survey. And having ascertained this, now you can choose to generate your own qualified generalization. What does it mean by qualified generalization? Means you are aware of the biases you have found in the survey. Even the biased surveys can be informative. So far as you know the biases, in order not to be unduly persuaded by them.